My friends, we are all faced with a choice in life, a choice that will determine the entire trajectory of our existence. Will we settle for less than we are capable of, or will we strive for greatness, embracing our vast potential and refusing to accept mediocrity? Too often I see people resigned to a life of merely going through the motions. They shuffle through their days, accepting whatever crumbs life tosses their way, never daring to demand more from themselves or their circumstances. But I'm here to tell you today that you were born for something greater. You have a spark of divinity within you, an ember of greatness that must be fanned into an all-consuming blaze. Don't let anyone tell you that your dreams are too lofty, your goals too audacious. The greatest achievements in history were accomplished by those dismissed as fools and madmen by the naysayers of their time. When the R brother proclaimed they would fly, they were mocked as crackpots. When Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of his dream of racial equality, he was vilified by those clinging to an unjust status quo. But these visionaries didn't listen to the doubters. They pressed on, allowing their burning desires to propel them. Triumph of those who settled for less, and that's what I'm asking you to do today. That fire within you, don't allow the cold winds of criticism and discouragement to extinguish your passion. Fan the flames with disciplined hard work and an unwavering belief in your ability to achieve the exceptional. Let me tell you a story, a parable, if you will, that illustrates the perils of settling for less. There was once a young eagle soaring majestically high above the clouds. But one day this eagle suffered a terrible accident and fell to the ground, landing in a farmer's barnyard where it was found by a flock of chickens. The chickens took on the injured eagle and nursed it back to health. As the eagle regained its strength, however, it began imitating the behavior of the chickens, scratching in the dirt for meager scraps of food, and never venturing beyond the barnyard fence. This once majestic creature had settled for the limitations of the chicken coop, resigning itself to live a life vastly beneath its soaring potential. My friends, each of us was born to soar like that eagle, to spread our wings and ride the winds of destiny to unimaginable heights. But too many of us, like that eagle, have allowed ourselves to be caged by fear, self-doubt, and the boundaries imposed by others. We peck at the crumbs of life instead of feasting on the banquet that awaits us. If only we have the courage to claim our birthright of greatness. The path to that greatness begins with refusing to settle for less then you deserve and are capable of. Whether in your career, relationships, health, or any other aspect of life, demand more from yourself and reject anyone or anything that tries to convince you to accept crumbs when you were destined for the bakery. This philosophy of excellence guided the life of that great thinker Aristotle. When tutoring the young Alexander, the great Aristotle filled his pupil's mind not with the dry facts found in textbooks, but with powerful lessons to ignite the spark of ambition. There is a sublime grandeur about excellence. Aristotle would tell the boy who would become one of history's most legendary conquerors. Those words should echo through our minds each morning as we rise to greet a new day filled with possibilities. And let us not forget the ancient wisdom found in the good book, which declares, whatsoever thy hand find to do, do it with thy might. In other words, don't settle for a half-hearted effort in any endeavor, whether changing a light bulb or launching an industry-disrupting enterprise. Commit yourself fully and give it everything you've got, for half measures breed half lives, while total devotion paves the road to fulfillment. Of course, achieving more than a life of quiet desperation is no easy feat. It requires diligent labor, sacrifice, and an indomitable spirit that refuses to buckle under the weight of temporary setbacks and defeat. It's the road less traveled for a reason. Most find the rugged terrain too daunting to brave, but I believe you have the mettle to journey down that difficult path, because greatness was forged in you by the fires of potential. Along the way, you'll face critics who will mock your audacious goals and try to convince you that settling for a comfortable mediocrity is the wiser course. But remember, inspirational words of the great President Teddy Roosevelt, it is not the critic who counts, the credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena. The path to excellence is arduous, and your journey will be marked by stumbles and scraped knees. But as that most courageous of presidents understood, far better to pick yourself up bloody but unbowed from the arena floor than to never have stepped into the ring of life's great conquest. You'll also encounter those melancholy souls who have resigned themselves to a shrunken life of quiet desperation. Don't get your hopes up that Caution as you share your lofty dreams, aim a little lower, and you won't be as disappointed, but pay no heed to these joyless ears of the world. A life of low expectations is no way to live at all, as the philosopher Nietzsche declared with thundering conviction. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Never forget your wow, that burning purpose that sets your soul ablaze, and you'll find the strength to endure anyhow any temporary hardship that seeks to extinguish your brilliance. And always remember that you don't walk this path alone. Each of you has a vast reserve of mentors, inspiring figures from history and literature who have already journeyed down this road, less traveled, and can light your way with their wisdom. Look to the likes of Harriet Tubman, who escaped the shackles of slavery only to risk her life again and again, leading dozens of others to freedom through the network of safe houses known as the Underground Railroad. Or find guidance in the life of that most indomitable adventurer, Ernest Shackleton, who stared down the merciless Antarctic winter after his ship was crushed by ice, summoning supernatural powers of leadership and perseverance to bring every last member of his crew home safely after a 2-year ordeal. These trailblazers, and so many more like them, overcame hardships that would break lesser souls because they refused to settle for anything less than the full blossoming of their potential. They are the eagles who continue to soar while others remained earth. Let their feats of greatness embolden you to demand more from yourself and this precious gift we call life. And never forget, you don't go it entirely alone in this modern world. Either I stand beside you and all those in this room who have chosen the path rising upward. We are your fellow seekers, united in our desire for something more, something transcendent. We are your brothers and sisters in ambition. So whenever the voices of fear and doubt whisper that it's okay to settle to R in your dreams and just accept the safe comforts of quiet surrender, look to your left and right and find inspiration and strength in those around you who have also vowed never to settle for less. Together, we are an unstoppable force. Our numbers are growing every day as more people awaken to their vast untapped potential. We stand at the apex of human possibility, ready to climb even higher than those who came before us. So let us link arms in our shared pursuit of excellence. Let us boost one another when the hill grows steep and someone's steps start to falter. Let us fan the flames of our individual ambitions into a wildfire of collective achievement that will change the world, because that's what pursuing your highest potential really means. Not just improving your own life, but making a positive impact that elevates humanity as a whole. When you resolve to stop settling for crumbs, stop pecking aimlessly in the dust of a life hardly lived, you are children of the stars with spirit forged in celestial fires. The path ahead will not be easy, but easy for those willing to live and die as mere chickens, never experiencing the breathtaking vistas in soul-stirring adventures that await those who spread their wings and claim their birthright as soaring eagles. Choose that more transcendent path today and every day hereafter. Reject anyone or anything that tries to convince you to settle for less than you are capable of. Be voracious in your appetite for growth, always striving, always ascending to new and dizzying heights. And I promise you, as you shake off the self-imposed shackles of low expectations, you will taste the sublime sweetness of a life lived to its fullest potential, its most exhilarating possibilities. You will never look back in regret, wondering what could have been, had you only possessed the courage to demand more from yourself and this miraculous journey we call life. So stay hungry, my friends. Let no obstacle deter you from soaring to greatness, because in the words of my favorite philosopher, Charlie Munger, the big thing is we all need to keep learning and reminding ourselves what we temporarily underestimate. You need to call off those biases and keep being inspired by the better wisdom. Take those words to heart. Call the biases and fears that might convince you to settle. Keep being inspired by the wisdom of those who walk the path less traveled, scaling incredible heights, precisely because they settle for anything less than the full manifestation of their human potential. Each of you has an incredible destiny awaiting you. You may not see it clearly now, with your vision clouded by circumstance and self-doubt, but I see it. And if you commit today to leaving behind a life of going through the motions in favor of truly living, truly Striving and daring and risking and reaching ever higher, you will see it too, that beckoning future, that promised land flowing with the nectar of your wildest dreams, achieved waits for you just over the horizon. So stay hungry, my friends, never settle for less than you are capable of achieving in this life, because the consequences of resigning yourself to a shrunken existence devoid of ambition and the relentless pursuit of your highest potential are soul-crushing. Just imagine lying on your death bed, taking those final breaths as your life flashes before your eyes. What would you feel if all you saw was a series of chances not taken, dreams abandoned, and a constant settling for the safe complacency of the regret? Would be overwhelming, a heavy weight suffocating you as the light of your unrealized potential fades into the infinite darkness? Is that the legacy you wish to leave, a forgotten footnote in the chronicle of human existence instead of a blazing comet, seared into the memories of all who witnessed your brilliant trajectory? I don't think so. I see that fire burning in your eyes, the passionate desire to at your name into the annals of history through acts of greatness and trailblazing achievement. So fan those flames, my friends, let them grow into an inferno of ambition that consumes every last of self, doubt and fear that might tempt you to settle for a life of quiet desexpiration, because the path ahead, though difficult, leads to a summit offering vistas of unimagined splendor available only to those who paid the price of perseverance. Imagine instead taking those final breaths after a life well lived, one committed to leaving mediocrity in the dust. As you pursued excellence with every fiber of your being, you look back with immense satisfaction, perhaps even a touch of pride, knowing you extracted every ounce of potential from the miraculous gift of life. No regrets, no ifs, only the peaceful certainty that you gave it your all. And what a sublime way to make your final exit. That's the choice before you today. Will you resign yourself to joining the masses huddled in the valleys of complacency, or will you heed the siren call of the summits, embracing the soul-stretching labors required to elevate yourself above the clouds of conformity and into the terrified airs of true self-actualization? I know my path, I chose it long ago, and have never looked back. Every day I claw my way ever higher up that mountain, because I'm addicted to the breathtaking vistas and insights that reveal themselves only to those willing to break trail. Sure, there are times when I'm dogged by fatigue and self-doubt, when it would be easier to stop my ascent and make camp on some comfortable ledge, but then I remember the alternative, a life trapped in the hazy dwarf lands of mediocrity, lungs forever starved of the inspiring found only at the lofty elevations of excellence. So let me serve as my friends. I've faced many of the same challenges and pitfalls that mark this journey, but I've also developed strategies for navigating the hazards and pushing past the mind's limits. When the body grows weary with me as your guide, you too can master the climb and lay claim to those majestic summits where your dreams go past the sun on wings of achievement. It begins with disciplining your mind to reject any thoughts that might convince you to settle or take the easy path of least resistance. Whenever that voice of self-doubt whispers this is good enough, or you've reached high enough for one lifetime, plug your mental ears, replace those venomous lies with empowering truths. I am capable of so much more. My potential has scarcely been tapped higher and further. Is my eternal calling. Next, yoke yourself to models who themselves refuse to hear the siren songs of mediocrity, figures like Benjamin Franklin, who went from a modest candle maker to one of the most influential polymaths and founding fathers who the American experiment, or look to the example of Andrew Carnegie, who arrived on these shores as a penniless Scottish immigrant, only to ultimately become one of the wealthiest self-made industrialists of his age. Take just a few moments each day to study how these trailblazers thought and acted. Let their discipline, creativity, and conviction serve as inspirations for breaking your own new trails, and I guarantee, if men of such humble origins could scale society's lofty peak, so too can you ascend to the summits of your greatest ambitions. Of course, even with a well-disciplined mind and inspirational role models lighting your way, the climb won't be easy. You'll face precipitous cliffs of obstacles that will test your mettle and force you to summon every ounce of willpower just to advance another foot in those darkest moments racked with weariness and the temptation to turn back. You'll need to call upon a third key tool in the ambitious person's arsenal: an unshakable faith in yourself and your ability to overcome any challenge through grit and perseverance. Let me tell you a quick story to illustrate this point. It's about a young man named John who had one singular dream: to climb to the top of Mount Everest and etch his name into the climbing record books. After years of training and preparation, John finally had his chance to tackle the legendary summit. But on his first attempt, he was struck by terrible altitude sickness just a few hundred feet from the top and had to turn back in disappointment. Most people would take that as a sign that their dream was too lofty, resigning themselves never to reattempt the feat. But not John. He returned home, recovered his strength, and trained with even more vigor. His failure on Everest slope fueling an even fiercer determination to succeed the next year. John tried again, and this time, despite enduring punishingly low temperatures, gale force winds, and a terrifying loss of communication with his climbing team, he pushed through the pain and hardship until finally, heroically, he reached the top of the world. By sheer force of will, he turned what could have been his dream's death nail into the sweetest tasting success. John's story serves as a parable, reminding us that no ambition is too lofty if you combine resilience, resourcefulness, and an unshakable belief in your ability to overcome. Always keep that image filed away in your mind, the portrait of the lonesome inching his way up that merciless peak through sheer grit in refusal to settle for anything less than total achievement of his life's driving passion. Let it inspire you to match his fortitude in the face of your own sized challenges, and for those times when you simply can't summon the strength to continue the climb on your own. Don't forget the power of your peer-guided group. Look to the left and right and find reassurance in your fellow summit seekers, all united in your collective pursuit of excellence. Let their energy and encouragement your depleted mental reserves, because, as I said earlier, while this journey demands personal fortitude and sacrifice, you need never go it entirely alone. Draw strength from these trusted friends who understand the struggles, because they are living the same dream. Charge existence as you, for it is only through our combined efforts, our symbiotic exchange of accountability and sustenance, that the highest and most rarefied elevations of success become attainable. Your eagles, my friends, born to spread our wings and ride the strong winds of potential to altitude where the mere chickens and earthbound souls cannot go, and together our individual dreams form the jet stream that ensures we all soar higher, faster, and further than any single spirit could muster on their own. So remain firm in your commitment to this path. Let no criticism or setback corrupt your drive and belief in yourself. Reject any voice, both from within and without, that tries to convince you to settle or scale back your loftiest ambitions. Be deaf to the siren's call of an easy life, frittered away amid the mind numbing comforts of mediocrity. Press on forever upward, leaving the common dust of conformity far beneath your wings when everything seems stacked against you and the easier path of settling beckons with the seductive whispers of retreat. Remember the immortal words of that timeless philosopher, Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man to summit Everest. People do not decide to become extraordinary, he proclaimed. They decide to accomplish. My friends, you have already taken that decision to accomplish the extraordinary. You've committed yourself to this uncommon journey of struggling and straining to reach the perilous and rarefied summits of your most cherished dreams. It will not be easy. In fact, it will likely be one of the most challenging and gut-wrenching undertakings you've ever embarked upon, but I put it to you now, what worthier way is there to live this precious gift of life than in a constant state of striving, growing, and evolving to become the most excellent version of yourself? This is your one and only existence as you know it. This will you spend it pecking at meager scraps and dreaming of the Everest you'll never scale? Or will you bravely set off on the arduous expedition, suffering through pain and deprivation, weathering every obstacle and setback? Also, you can one day plant your flag on the highest peaks of self-actualized achievement. I don't need to ask which path you'll choose. That fire in your eyes tells me all I need to know. So gee your lines, my friends, because the climb awaits, and the views from the summit, they beggar description. Oh, I can promise you is that when you finally crest that ultimate peak after your long heroic ascent, you'll look out at the world stretched out before you and be mesmerized by the splendor. It will be a jaw-dropping vista of infinite possibility that only the extraordinary ones dare dream of, let alone experience. First, and so press on higher and higher, refusing to settling for even 1 foot elevation short of your most exhilarating potential. Let that rapture summit be your constant lotus star, guiding you through every moment of darkness and pain with the reassuring light of its glorious promise just over the horizon. Don't settle for less, my intrepid adventures in ambition. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever, for a life of settling is a life merely survived, devoid of richness and the profound satisfactions that come from daring to make your highest dreams manifest. Why resign yourself to the hunger pains of wandering mediocrity when a sumptuous feast of achievement awaits anyone possessed of the courage and perseverance to travel the more arduous roads? So join me, fellow eagles, in ever skyward, to where the air is crisp with the intoxicating breezes of rarefied excellence. Our wingtips will periodically brush against the clouds, causing those earthbound masses to gaze up in awe and wonderment at our effortless transcendence of the thermals, keeping them grounded. And when our spirits finally do slip these temporary corporeal confines, will emerge into a higher plane of existence. Vindicated in our scorching of a trail by which others might follow, our ethereal wings will then spread to their full majestic span as we take seamless flight, at last liberated to soar unencumbered through the azure infinites of human potential made manifest. So keep climbing, my friends, never ever settle for less, because the descent into mediocrity is a slippery slope of compounding compromise that only terminates when your brilliance is utterly extinguished. Choose instead to keep burning with the fervent flames of ambition. If those embers within you should ever flicker and threaten to die, fan them anew by envisioning the glory awaiting you at the summit. Focus deep on that scene of you standing at last, bathed in the golden aura of achievement's rapture, upon finally conquering that lofty peak. Let that mental portrait, the tantalizing glimpse of your extraordinary apotheoses, become your constant companion through this journey's inevitable trials, because when those moments of agony and temptation to quit threaten to turn you from the path, your reminder of that blazing reward will be the burning that gets you through the night. Yes, it will be worth every scrape, every muscle strain past the limits of endurance, every sacrifice of time and social comforts, because once you finally reach the summit, once you at last breathe those precious airs of rarefied transcendence, only then will you truly understand why you can never ever settle for anything less. And let me leave you with one final thought to cement this message permanently into your consciousness. It's a simple truth that the mediocre masses can never understand, because they lack the vision and imagination to see past their self-imposed limitations. That truth, your potential, is quite literally boundless. Let the notion marinate for a moment. The inherent capacity for greatness coded into your spiritual DNA has no limits, no finite ceiling capping off the altitudes to which you are able to ascend. Think about that yourself. The totality of your talents, skills, passions, creativity, and sheer force of will is an infinite vessel designed for ever-expanding ascension through this lifetime and into whatever luminous realm after you've shuffled off this mortal coil. That fundamental knowledge that you are being forged in the fires of infinite possibility should rock you to your core, because it means that every time you leave for less than your highest, grandest ambitions, you are selling yourself infinitely short. You are capping your vast upward trajectory at a tiny fraction of what you're capable of. It's like having a rocket ship capable of taking you to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, but choosing instead to take a casual stroll around the corner. Does that seem utterly insane when I frame it in those terms? Of course it does, because any reasonable person can see the absurd in possessing access to limitless potential, yet willfully shackling yourself within the cramped confines of the painfully pedestrian. Yet this is precisely what happens every time you settle for less than you could be, or are too timid to risk it all in pursuit of the extraordinary. My friends, I speak to you today as a representative of the boundless, and from the celestial realms of infinite possibility, and I am here to let you know that you already have everything required to break free from the gravitational pull of the mundane masses and achieve total escape velocity from stifling atmosphere. What's more, the wonders that await you out there among the stars are quite literally limitless. Every dream knows. Matter how lofty can be achieved, and then new more ambitious dreams can be conceived and conquered as your appetite for boundless growth. Only so let this be the spark that fully ignites your engines and propels you at long last off the launch pad of containment. Let this message be a cosmic kick in the rear that shakes you free from the soul-sapping idolatry of good enough or better to reign. And expectations, let it expose those pernicious lies for the insidious dream killers they are, because the truth, my friends, is that good enough is the favorite mantra of losers worldwide. It's the mundane Mala's better suited for swamp-dwelling bottom feeders content to lie about in small stagnant pools of the familiar, never venturing out to test the vast ocean's depths. It has no place in the life of a high-performance person such as yourself, someone with your audacious ambition and thirst. Transcendence has no business settling for murky depths. When crystal clear waters stretching to horizons beckon, you are hardwired to soar, to ride every current and rip tide of potential all the way to its outermost fringes, and then somehow crest even further out onto the unexplored frontiers that await beyond the boundaries of mortal imagination. So shed those mental upper limits that cloud your psyche like atmospheric haze, ditch that scarcity mind set which deludes you into thinking resources are finite, and you must therefore ration your aspirations, lat out your efforts in tiny increments, as if your potential were portioned into limited shares like the dreary contents of a meager meal tray. That is the height of folly, my friends, because your potential is connected to an infinite source energies, to a bottomless wellspring of imagination and possibility. You are a living, breathing force of nature, extension of the universe's boundless creative dynamism itself. So why on earth would you ever accept someone else's rationalizations for why you cannot live out whatever your highest conceptions of fulfillment happen? Today is the day you say no more to the dream demolishers and joy janitors who would have you believe you don't deserve the whole dang bakery. Reject their bitter insistence that you resign yourself to crumbs and scraps, just because their own timid spirits cannot conceive of biting off anything more than that you, on the other hand, are starving for the entire freaking banquet of life, and by the boundless grace of your limitless source energy, you shall have it, because the simple truth, my friends, is that you are without limits. You are an infinite upward spiral, calibrated to rise through every new octave of potential at a never accelerating rate, your appetite grandeur intensifying with each accomplishment as you blaze a comet's trail through the vast expanses of what's possible. So today, shrug off the mental constraints that would delusion convince you that you must settle for less as an ambassador of the boundless. I encourage you to take this day to dream completely without limits, unshackle your mind, and dare to imagine living at your most wildly capable, blissfully abundant, deliriously joyful levels. Go ahead and conjure up visions of a life that looks absolutely ludicrous when sized up against the realities embraced by the mediocre masses. Because the simple truth is, my friends, that reality is yours to define. You are not bound by the limited rules or petty reasonings that the world's dogmatic gatekeepers would insist upon as an infinite upward spiral inscribed into the cosmic score itself. You are destined to expand in perpetuity as you leave the known mile markers behind and blaze a trail through the wild frontiers of possibility that await you. So aspire to greatness in every sense of the term. Shed every last constraint and refuse to ever again consider settling for anything less than the full boundless expression of your highest human potential. Be bold and audacious in your goal setting. Think big, aim high, and relentlessly push past every self-imposed or externally dare limit that would seek to keep you contained, because you, my friend, were made for more, so much more than you can likely even fathom at this present point in your journey. There are entire galaxies of transcendence awaiting your conquest, endless vistas of growth and achievement that will leave you dizzy with the rapture of constant self-actualization. All you need to do is remain committed aboard that rocket ship, continuously firing the engine of discipline and perseverance that will propel you out of the dense atmospheres of mediocrity and into the gloriously uninhibited expanses of infinite potential. So strap yourself in and prepare for liftoff, my friend, because the life of your wildest dreams and levels beyond your currently wildest. Dreams that await discovery is waiting for you out there among the stars.